Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. I have a great lesson for you today in our Course in Miracles. This is lesson 167. There is one life and that I share with God. Listen to the first line. It says, there are not different kinds of life, for life is like the truth. It doesn't have degrees, right? There is not this life and an afterlife, right? There is no life and death, right? And again, this tries to get you to get accustomed to thinking without opposites, to thinking in an uncompromising way, to stop reconciling what cannot be reconciled, if you will, right? It's like there is not this and then there's that. There is not time and then there's eternity. There is not darkness and there is not life. There's no, you know what I mean? The human mind tries to reconcile what cannot be reconciled and then somehow thinks that that's the way things are. He says, no, there's only one life and it's eternal. That means what? That what you call your human life, that interval from birth to death, is not life. It's not what life is. Life is eternal. Therefore, this is not life. You go like, well, what is this? He's going to explain this to you. He's going to tell you this is a dream, right? So he says, in this world, there appears to be a state that is life's opposite, correct? You call it death. Yet, we have learned that the idea of death takes many forms, right? This is another lesson that we did recently. The idea of death takes many forms. And what he's going to say is that death is an idea, right? It is the one idea, listen to this, it's the one idea which underlies all feelings that are not supremely happy. Let that sink in for a moment. Is the one idea that is at the basis of any emotion that you experience that is not supremely happy. It's the alarm to which you give response of any kind that is not perfect joy. All sorrow, ready? Loss, anxiety, and suffering and pain, even a little sigh of weariness, a slight discomfort, or the merest frown. Think about that for a moment. Acknowledge death. And these are not superlatives. He's not just saying this because somehow he wants to. No, this is the truth. If it's not supremely happy, it's death. That is what death is. It's not of the body, it's an idea. Let that sink in for a moment. Death is an idea, right, that has no reality. But it's an idea, and it's an idea in which you believe. You think that death is of the body, yet it is but an idea irrelevant to what is seen as physical. A thought is in the mind, it can then be applied as mind directs it, but its origin is where it must be changed. Right? Death is an idea that you've made separate from God. It has no reality, but it's still in your mind, and that's where the change needs to occur. That's the mind training of A Course in Miracles, the conversion from death to life, the conversion of the idea, right, that lies at the basis of any emotion or feeling that you have that's not wholly happy, supremely happy, to what? To happiness, to life, because life is happiness. Can you see? Ideas leave not their source. The emphasis this course has placed on that idea is due to its centrality in our attempts to change your mind about yourself, right? Ideas leave not their source. You're the cause of all of this. This is your idea. Therefore, the change that needs to occur within your mind. It doesn't occur out there. There is no world that needs to be changed because it's an effect. We've talked about this before. It's not a cause, it's an effect. Correct? So again, ideas leave not their source, and the only way that that idea of death is going to be eliminated, if you will, in your mind is by converting it to life, by allowing the correction, the miracle to occur within your thought system. And that requires to um, to adopt, if you will, a different kind of thinking. It says it's the reason you can heal, it's the cause of healing. It is why you cannot die. Its truth establishes you as one with God. Now, listen to this. Death is the thought that you're separate from your creator. That's what death is. It's the idea that you're separate from source. That's the fixed belief of the human condition. God is somewhere else, I'm here. And even if there's some concept maybe that God is with you, it's just a concept. It's not really something that's believed totally. I love it. The mind can think it sleeps, but that is all. It cannot change what is its waking state. It cannot make a body nor abide within a body. Your mind does not abide within the body no matter what you think. Can you see? Um, no, nothing can contain your mind because it's unlimited. A, a body is an idea again, the idea that you're separate from source. Right? The moment you let go of that idea, there will be no body. What is alien to the mind does not exist. Love that. Because it has no source. For mind creates all things that are and cannot give them attribute it lacks, nor change its own eternal mindful state. It cannot make the physical. Right? The physical is the opposite of mind. The body is the opposite of mind. Again, you're trying to reconcile while a mind within a body. No, that's impossible. Right? The body has no single, here's a good line, at no single instant does the body exist at all. That's straight from your Course in Miracles. It has to be remembered or anticipated, but it's never experienced just now. Again, right? These are ideas that in the mind training of A Course in Miracles you ask to practice in order to bring about that shift from what we call the thinking of the world, your thinking, human thinking, to whole-minded thinking, to real thinking, to thinking with the universe. What seems to die is but a sign of mind asleep. The opposite can only be another form of life. This is just another form of life, right? You call it my life, you call it my human life, you call it, but it's not life. It's just another form of life in the idea that you're actually asleep. When the mind elects to be what it is not, ready? And to assume an alien power which it does not have, a foreign state it cannot enter, or a false condition not within its source, which again is impossible, it merely seems to go to sleep a while. It dreams of time. There is no time, right? There is no opposite to eternity, but it dreams of time. In the dream, time seems to be passing, right? An interval in which what seems to happen never has occurred. I love that. What seems to be happening in time has never occurred. Why not? Because it's a dream, right? When you wake up in the morning, you had a dream at night, you go like, oh yeah, it was just a dream. That's what this is. The changes wrought are substanceless and all events are nowhere. When the mind awakes, it but continues as it always was. I love it. What a great, great lesson, right? Again, the invitation is always to let go of your own uncompromising thinking. And if you go like, oh, this is hard, I can never learn this. We heard this at a recent event that we did, and someone said, oh, Course in Miracles is so hard. I can't learn this. I just, this is hard for me to understand. And well, that's the problem. The problem is you're trying to understand it. You're trying to understand this new thought system with your old mind. That's not how it works. First of all, as he so beautifully tells you in the beginning of the workbook, he says, you know, your understanding is not required. As a matter of fact, you're probably better off not understanding it till you do. But the understanding is not conceptually, right? Can you see? What he is inviting you, he even says you don't even have to like the idea. You don't even have to believe him. You just have to what? Practice them. Accept them, right? That's the offering. Because once you elevate your frequency to what, let's call it your new mind, right? To once you enter your new mind, you enter a new space and time, if you will, then you'll understand exactly what this says because that's how this is understood. It's understood with your new mind, not with your old mind. So for those of you out there who go like, A Course in Miracles is hard, right? I can never learn this, I don't understand this. Stop trying to understand it. It is not understandable within your old frame of thought. Instead, rather practice it the way He tells you to practice it. And then let that change occur within you, because what will happen is the correction, the miracle will take place. You'll elevate your frequency, right? And you'll transition into your new mind. And at that point, you have no problem understanding this whatsoever, because in your new mind, this makes perfect sense. Can you see? We share one life because we have one source, a source from which perfection comes to us, remaining always in the holy minds which He created perfect. As we were, so are we now and will forever be. Love that, right? A sleeping mind must waken as it sees its own perfection mirroring the Lord of life so perfectly it fades into what is reflected there. Your awakening is inevitable. It's time. If you're watching this video, it's time. You go like, well, how do I know? You know, there's all questions that seem to make perfect sense in your old mind, but they make no sense to me, because you cannot not be watching this video and not be awakening. Okay. And now it is no more of a mere reflection. It becomes the thing reflected and the light which makes reflection possible. You become the reflection of your own whole mind. First, you see it reflected, then you become that. Can you see? No vision now is needed, for the awakened mind is one who knows its source, itself, its holiness. What a beautiful lesson. This is lesson 167 in your workbook. And as with all the other lessons, you're simply asked to practice it and to make your own this new way of thinking, this whole minded thinking, this uncompromising way of thought that is alien to the world's thinking, but has to become yours. And until it does, a lot of this seems to make no sense, or a lot of this seems to maybe sound good, but maybe not quite your experience. But once it does, once you make that shift, right, this makes perfect sense. Right? You stop reconciling opposite, light, dark, time, eternity, right? Life, death, body, mind, because you can't reconcile the both. Either one of the two is one of the both true, one of the two is true, the other one isn't. Can you see? That's how that works. That's Listen. This is the offering. This is the mind training. This is the shift in perception that you're being offered, and you can't. Like, what does he say that what's when the mind gets healed, right? When the mind gets healed because of the shift in thinking, what does he say is going to cost? It's going to cost the whole world you see, right? You will not be able to go on with the way you were. You cannot undergo a spiritual awakening and remain a human mind, to remain a mind that thinks it's separate from source. It's going to change everything. That's just the way that works. But remember what you're being offered. You're being offered eternity. You're being offered heaven. You're being offered perfect happiness. Can you see? Your misery, right? Your doubts, your pain, your sickness is going to be replaced with perfect happiness, the peace of God, wholeness, joy, and so on and so on. It's going to be replaced with everything you've been looking for since the beginning of time. Can you see? That's the practice. There is no loss associated with awakening. There is no loss associated with a spiritual transformation. Okay? There's only happiness, joy, peace, right? So read this lesson today if you have a moment. There's one life, and that I share with God. It's a beautiful lesson. And then when you practice that, if you're not quite used to practicing it that way, just use the ideas. Don't worry about understanding it, right? Sometimes, we get invited to groups, and their thing is, well, I'm gonna we're going to discuss this, or we're going to analyze this. This is not for analyzation, this is for utilization, to use 12-step vernacular, right? The offering is to practice it, to accept it, to utilize it, not to analyze it. Therefore, the whole idea of, sometimes we go like, well, let's share our ideas about this, is senseless, because your ideas about it is what the problem is. Okay, see, it's the utilization of that. It's you applying it that's going to make the shift. Our discussion of these ideas is completely meaningless, because then you're using your meaningless idea to discuss what you do not understand, because you actually, if you understood it, you wouldn't be discussing it. Anyway, I'm belaboring the point, but I hope that makes sense. So this is the lesson. There is one life, and that I share with God. Have a great day today, wherever and whenever you are. I love you, and I'll see you everywhere.